Well, I was just happy that we had it. We were waiting. We had a pretty good turnout.
Very good.
All right, it is 6:01 PM, 6/30/2022. Let's get this meeting started. We have myself present, Hannah Wells, Mark Rosenthal. Mac is here. Mac, forgot your last name. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Doesn't matter.
On Zoom, we have
John Doerr.
John Deere. Do we have Will yet?
Not yet. but I
Okay.
see.
Kathy
We
anyway?
have a quorum.
Will is now joining.
Okay, Will's joining. Kathy might be on her way. We do have a quorum.
Yeah, she said she was going to.
Why not?
Wonderful.
I use that. Good.
Okay, approval of prior minutes. Did everyone get a chance to look at those?
Mhm.
Hold a second.
Can I get a second on that?
I will second that.
Can I have a second? All those in favor of approving prior minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, motion. Officer reports. I don't really have much to report as of this meeting right now. My only question was for Sagewood paver update. I think you said it was in your management report. I couldn't find it though.
It was completed last
Okay.
week.
It was completed. Okay.
Yep.
Good. I gotta drive out there and take a look. How'd it turn out? Good, good. Good. I haven't seen it yet. Okay. Anyone else? All right, community manager report.
Attached to my management report that I submitted to the board and community last Friday, we have the Piper Fire backflow
Turn the volume up.
and cellular dialer inspection report that passed. Southern Access Services that did their maintenance on Sagewood Gate. Their report, work order minutes report is updated, the violation report. CAD board meeting is Thursday, July 7th, here in the Lake House at 10 a.m. And YMC Summer Group swim lessons is being held through June 27th to July 1st from 10 to 12. May financials were provided to the board and financial planning committee on June 20th. I had transferred the following items that I listed on the manager's report from GL 5196. That line item will show a negative until all money is applied back into GL 5196. Request of Sean Rowland, I did submit on June 4th. Amounts to be transferred into the new main service area bank accounts. Sagewood, Westlake, Fair Villas, and Sandpiper. Delinquencies as of this report, which was a week ago, 5 owners are scheduled to be sent to the attorney on June 27th. We ended up sending 3. That also made sure that there was an affidavit of mailing. So we know that mailing did happen in May. 2186 was collected by the attorney since May 26th. May delinquency from April delinquency really didn't change, didn't go down much. There were 15 new owners in May and only 1 new owner as of this report in June. Some things I'm going to skip over since they're on your agenda. The violation finding policy was approved at your May board meeting and was posted to Town Square. Now you're talking about the Lake House playground tonight, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Hillsborough County Fire Department, they completed their final inspection on June 16th. And that's the report that is attached to my report.
Somebody came in one second. Somebody asked him the volume to be turned louder.
No, we can bring Heather closer.
Hold on a moment.
Full umbrellas were ordered and JR installed those on June 9th. There were 4 of them. Full furniture, there's no update as of right now. I did ask JR to get prices, 3 prices from 3 different companies to give you prices for your budget time for next year. for replacement. Deck drains, the contractor reported at the pool that they needed to be replaced. There's about 18 of them. And those were scheduled to be replaced by this week, which were done. Splash pad repairs, as of yesterday, he was supposed to have that completed by the end of this week.
So it is repaired?
He should have it completed by the end of this week, barring any weather issues.
Okay.
Fitness center, the equipment was repaired as of May 25th. Sandpiper Crest Townhome, so far, the construction company is cleaning up, making sure there's not trash left up, and then also the tree that was leaning down to the ground has finally been replaced. Common area irrigation decoder is on your agenda, which is for Sagewood. Same as pressure washing the community in Sagewood. The paved sitting area, common ground, completed
Yeah.
on June 23rd. How does that look? You guys like it?
Beautiful, it's fabulous.
Good. Quarterly report for Sagewood's Gate. That's the report that I was talking about. That's the end of mine. So let's probably go through this one. Trimming of the easement trees. I did work a very long time on this. The CDD had requested that a notice go out to the homeowners to limb up or trim the trees between the sidewalk and the streets that are located on the perimeters of the owner's property. I do state the section 3.6 of the ARC. I went with a contractor to go through the entire community. I did submit that to you and Mike on last month of all the trees we came up with. At the end of the day, going through the report, the contractor came back and notified me that they were unable to be available for the project. When they were working the numbers, there's just not a comfort level as far as doing the work, and so she is pulled out. I don't know of anybody else in this area. Maybe Sunrise will do it and get with Brightview. Pool landscaping is on your agenda, and that's as a result of me doing some inspections around there, and so they've recommended some replacements. Sod replacement for paired villas in Sagewood is also on your agenda. Mulch install was completed the week of June 6th, and all bills have been paid and are on the current June financials. CDD section, common area trees, liability to the homes and the paired villas that are along Spectrum Road. On May 24th, I reported to Debbie Wallace, the manager for the CDD, that owners along Spectrum Road were concerned about the trees needing to be trimmed away from their roofs. At first, she replied she would send the request to their landscaping contractor, Brightview. When I followed up on June 8th, after the storms that past weekend, and the owners were concerned with potential damage to their home, her response was, these trees are outside of the ongoing maintenance contract. She referred to the policies page that they have, and she welcomed anyone to bring a request to the board during their regular scheduled meeting. So now we're in storm season. So I don't know how you want to deal with that, but that's potential liability. Sagewood CDD retention pond, if you remember a few months ago, I brought to the attention that the CDD was not maintaining that retention pond within Sagewood. And I pointed out that the property lines of the CDD brings it up almost to the sidewalk around that retention pond. The CDD reported that they would not be maintaining it, and then a couple months later, all of a sudden, Brightview's maintaining it. Well, now we're back to nobody's maintaining it again. So I did let her know that. She said she would check into it. And then there's the reminder of the natural areas that Debbie asked me to post on Town Square, as far as the fact that they're not maintained pristinely like a regular, property line. And that's it.
Perfect. Thank you. Committee reports.
Westlife Committee.
we basically have the fence people coming to try to make the fences coming week. But the other quote that we got from Sunrise has been revised because the original gentleman who did the quote is no longer with the company. And they've come up with a different number, so I'm having them look that down a little because it came up about $1,200 higher than I was expected. So I'll let you know what that change is as soon as it comes in. That's all I have for myself.
Okay.
Well, social committee, we just had the poem party. I've made a post. We finally, after 3 attempts, we finally were able to have it. So that's going to be pretty much our summer event. We still have yoga going on. We have, I think, at least 3 or 4 more on Saturdays in the morning. I think like 7:45 a.m. So those will be continued for the remainder of we hit July. Thinking then, and we're planning probably a meeting in August to start planning out for fall events. And so that's where we're going to be for a while. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, short of that, we had a food truck
I'm
event.
gonna speak louder. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, we did a food truck. I'm not sure where we end up with the food trucks. I know it was raining during, unfortunately. So
Wasn't great, wasn't bad, but
yeah, so, but I think we learned a little bit. I know summer is a little harder to have events, so I'm hopeful in the fall we'll be a little later in the fall, we'll be past hopefully some of these, the seasons of storms and hurricanes, and then we'll be a little bit easier to plan. Of course, we'll continue having like Santa and maybe a fall event once we get to that point. So until then, we'll keep people posted and we'll let them know. But I'm happy at least we had our summer event that I think was pretty successful and people were very, very happy. So I'm pleased.
perfect. Good job. When did you want to do the next social meeting?
I'm planning August. I don't think we're gonna really have any events in July.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, so I think we'll start in August planning for the fall and then we'll move from there.
Okay. Yes.
I tend to have one other item. Earlier this week, on Monday, we came in and the tree here, one of the limbs came down. Luckily, it didn't damage any structure or a person. In April of last year, that's one of the trees that we reported to the board at that time that was hollow. And it was recommended due to liability that it be removed. There's another tree back here that's also marked as a liability, it being hollow. Sunrise did come in and remove all those items. They're supposed to be here tomorrow, their scheduled maintenance, so they'll remove those larger logs. Meanwhile, we have a quote that I had sent you earlier today to remove that tree. And then in addition, he's concerned with this tree right out front that's hanging over. It is not hollow, but being that it is leaning, eventually is going to be a liability to structure and person. So he did give me a quote on that. This is the quote that is the one that fell. This is the one that partial fell.
Okay.
This is the one that he's not stating it needs to be done immediately, but it is a concern. But you also have this tree back here that's also hollow.
Okay.
The line item that you could pull from would be 6145. The balance in that, can I read my notes? I'm sorry, I'm not used to reading upside down. You have 8,000 left in that line item for the year that you haven't spent that was budgeted, and the total for both trees is 6565. So you can at least cover the liable one. Or this one,
This one.
and then wait on that.
So, okay, so basically we owe Sunrise 4225.
No, they haven't done this work. That's removing this tree
So
completely.
So we have to approve this.
Okay.
Yes, yes. This is the one that's right up front here that's coming over.
So they want 2340 to remove the tree that's out over here. That is a liability.
That's
but
not as much of a liability. Right, right, because it's leaning, because it wasn't trimmed properly when you guys had it trimmed before.
Sure.
This is that one,
4225 is to remove the remaining of this collapse.
correct, which, yeah,
What are we paying for? Do we know what it's costing us to remove the partial that's already done?
no, he has not built on that. And I think he might have incurred the costs on that, but I'll double check.
All right, any thoughts?
It was already down. All they did was cut it up and put it in the back of the truck. So,
GL item 6145.
So how much is the two trees, the ones that are hollow?
In some place.
So,
6145 is your mulch, tree trimming and pine straw. The mulch install that you all had already approved and installed was already paid out of that. So that leaves 8,000 left for the year in that budgeted line item.
And that's gonna blow that.
But you don't have anything else going into that. This line item is for tree trimming
Yeah, understood.
and you've already done the mulch. So the way I look at it is you have a liability.
Right.
You're lucky that thing fell and it didn't fall on a person with as many people that walk around here. And the liability, insurance liability on a claim of any hurt to persons is gonna be a heck of a lot more than that cost
I
there.
don't think this one's a question.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
It's not a question whether it needs to be done, it's whether, just over the budget.
Any questions on that? How do we feel about the other one, 2340? 2340 fixing this one over here.
I mean, are we gonna, pretty much at that point, we're gonna go through quite a bit of the budget then,
Yeah,
but it is I do think it's necessary.
Yeah, it was one of the budgets, was hoping we use to carry over some of the others, but it's, the trees are an issue, so.
So let me just get the numbers straight in my head. So the two trees that have to come down is about 42, 45 or something like
it's
that?
4225, it's one tree, right?
That one tree.
One tree.
It was a split tree, so part of it already fell, and that's what is being cleaned up right now. The rest of it's hollow and probably will come down at some point.
And if I might interject, I'm sorry, let me add this bit of information, and I'll try to yell. When I received the first quote this morning, it was the total combined of those two quotes. However, in his quote, he did not state he was quoting two different trees. So I questioned the price of it at over $6,500 for one tree. Because I've worked with a tree person for over 10 years, and that's never been their price. So while I was waiting for him to get back with me, I contacted Deb, the person that's done the trees in this community that I've worked with. And I said, I sent her the picture and reminded her that was the one on the report. I said, how much would you charge? She said 4,000. So when he came back with his two quotes, and that one at 4,200, he's right in line. So that price isn't higher than it should be.
So yes, Matt, 4225 to fix the current problem child. An additional 2340 to fix a potential problem tree right in front of you.
And what about the one in the back? Is that, there's three trees, right? There's one over
He didn't
there.
quote that one.
They didn't quote the one in the back.
No.
Right, so we're talking about nearly $7,000 for the two trees, and we've got a balance on the budget.
But my opinion and advice would be take care of this one and wait on the other, especially since we know it's not hollow, but that's just
Right, because we don't know if something else.
the
problem's
toss of the
gonna come
dice.
Yeah.
Concur.
Whether it's a bad recommendation, I'm inclined to think if it's indeed gonna fall over, to take care of it before it does, of course.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation, even though I don't like spending money, as you guys know.
Okay,
That's a lot of money to cut down a tree.
I'm sorry, Sean, I can't hear you. Could you speak up?
And I understand the reason for taking the trees down, because they could potentially be a liability, which we want to avoid. It's the only quote we have. That might be something we can interject, but you know, we're going to be spending nearly the rest of the budget for that line item on those two trees. So Tommy's recommendation was to take down the one that's hollow because it's already falling down, and pieces has already fallen off of it, which I entirely agree with. I feel we should spend the money on the trees before they fall, not afterwards. If that's the best way to look at it.
Heather, you're saying this is the industry standard for a quote to remove a tree?
No,
like
it's
this.
not, but you have a tree that's already fallen onto a sidewalk where you have kids and people.
No, what I'm saying is that's the price. That's,
Oh.
regardless of who you go
The
to-
industry standard is to get three when you're planning, three quotes when you're planning.
but I'm saying
Right.
across the
As far as-
board, that's what it's going to be.
Exactly, that's why I
roughly.
went to Deb, because I worked with her for 10 years.
Mhm.
I know her prices, I know her work.
Yeah.
And sometimes you will get companies that will jack up the price. But when he came back with a little bit more than what she would charge, and sometimes she gives me a better deal,
Mhm.
then he's fair priced on that.
so basically she got another quote for about 4,000. And Sunrise is saying 4225. Not gonna penny pinch $225.
I don't have a problem with it.
The question is one or two,
The question is, do we want to take care of the one in front over here too, at 2340?
and leave nothing in the budget for trees in case something else pops up.
Maybe you make a suggestion, take care of the hollow one immediately. Take care of the leaning one after we make transition and figure out what all money's really plays down.
Correct.
I agree with that.
I like that one. It gives us a little fallback in case you have another one that becomes a problem.
Agree. Okay,
I agree with that.
perfect. I will make a motion to approve Sunrise for 4225 for the removal of the remainder of the tree out here. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Kathy second.
Yes.
Yeah.
No opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, where were we? Oh, we're in old business. Okay, approval for ARC documentation rewrite. Mark has a great draft. It's pretty much ready to roll. I am putting in a motion that we table this until we have our in-house mailing functioning properly. I don't really feel like paying Associa or having anyone else do the mailing out for this when we are in the process of setting up the in-house mailing function.
I don't want to table it. I want to have all the board read it and provide me back their feedback.
I'll
So
just email it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've already
Sure.
done that. I'll give you some suggestions. I have a couple of.
How about this?
I would,
Go forward with approval from the board with a trigger date to be after, such and such date down August, whatever, September, whatever. So that you can actually get the whole thing in play where pull the trigger, do the mailing and put it into effect.
Because the mailing has to be received 14 days prior to the board's approval of the ARC. So I have to have mailing out and landed prior to us actually approving.
Yeah, so we have to hold.
14 days.
Exactly. I got a whole.
They have
And there's a couple of.
it has to be within 14 days of the approval, but they have 14 days after that to review it if they want to.
If they want, correct.
So. Anyway, the tentative part of that is what I was referring to, not the actual vote, but actually getting it all in play, make sure it's on board with the comments written in the final draft.
Yeah, we just got to email it out. Yeah, please do.
All right.
Send it out to everyone for a lookie.
Yeah, I mean,
Talk about it.
minor, but yeah, two things.
Okay, so I got a motion into table that for now.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Any opposed?
I,
Thank you, Kathy. Motion carries. Okay, Westlake Fence and Landscaping. I deferred to you, but I think you've already updated us.
I did, well, it took so long to get us to that point that we've had some price changes, so that's why I was trying to make sure that we keep them where we're at, and try to stay within the budget that we already approved. I will have an update shortly. I was out of town the last 2 weeks, so I did drop the ball a little bit on it, but I will make sure you have an update this week.
Perfect. Okay, ARC follow-up inspection resolution. Kind of hate that title. It's been getting me all week every time I look at it, but I'm deferring to Mark for this. This was actually presented in some charter changes for the ARC. It's to determine when pre and post inspections are done based on ARC applications. Mark.
This is one of the biggest change to the ARC charter committee. Committee charter rather was it's under the duties and responsibilities. So when you're providing your feedback, that's the particular section that I would request you look at with scrutiny.
So that's on hold too. That's on.
Has
hold, too.
anyone from the
Yeah.
arts seen this yet? Or
From the one?
the
ARC?
or, I'm sorry, committee, have anyone?
No.
Oh, I guess they're the best people to,
Well, this is,
I mean, I read it, I didn't see any issues.
is there anything we disagree about it? So you're saying, Mark, it was under duties and powers were your primary changes?
That's the part. Yeah, that's the main changes.
And is there any main changes you want to highlight that is just the inspection?
So, like, for example, the previous version under chairperson, the only responsibility was the chairperson shall schedule and lead all committee meetings. That was the only responsibility.
Mhm.
So everything else is added.
Okay, gotcha.
So now we're saying chairperson will ensure site inspections are completed at least by a member of the ARC prior to ARC request review, which makes sense. Go on site, view what may be in question for the fourth meeting, have your meeting. And notate the inspection. Approval meeting by the inspector for all ARC requests. Okay. Get that.
So, and then the other main changes are down in the secretary section. Basically, the vice chairperson remains the same. They have all the same duties as the chairperson when the chairperson is not able to attend. The secretary had some additional duties in regards to minutes, when they'll be forwarded. And then also, just as an added level of review, I added the last bullet there that the board of directors liaison, so once the committee makes a decision on something, they send it to the board of directors liaison. That individual has 5 days to review it. In this case, silence would be consent. If they don't reply back within 5 days with a question or a comment, then it's passed and then it gets pushed on to the next level. But it just gives a second set of eyes on any decisions.
I like that. My only.
So Mark, are you sure you want to have 5 days of silence? You don't want to have a definitive response from the liaison?
Well, it's just a review period.
Well, if I may add to all this, the 5 days of silence it will kill homeowners. If homeowners are putting in an application, they might even be joining. the
So
Zoom meeting.
actually, no. So when this was previously, basically when a homeowner submits something and the board reviews it and the board approves it, then not the board, excuse me, the committee then has 30 days from reviewing it to announce it to the homeowner, according to the way it was written. So this works still inside that 30-day window and actually expedites it a little bit. Because the secretary has 5 business days to basically finish up the meeting notes and the minutes and all of that, get it to the liaison on the board. Then the board member has 5 days to review it and get it back. And then at which point it can still be pushed out within that 30-day window.
But usually we respond sooner than 5 days.
I don't know what the usual response time is.
It's usually same day, actually.
So usually the ARC will meet and the resident could even join the meeting and see the approval. Then Jennifer gets notified same day and they go out.
Sends out letters and puts on town square and all the different things we
So
do.
it's not bad to allow a buffer, but
Mhm.
you know, from what people are used to, and you figure you're putting in for a very expensive project, like you're on pins and needles. This
Yeah.
approval.
We can adjust the time frame a little bit.
That would be my only one concern. My only other concern is, and maybe I'm missing in here. Is there any part where the ARC is to follow up and make sure a project was done appropriately? Or does that go straight into violation?
It's under there, it's in there.
It is in there? I missed
It's
it.
a pre and post. It's in
And post
your-
inspection.
Okay, gotcha.
Right, there it is.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So then it's really just a time. I don't know if you want to adjust that.
If we're talking about it, the issue I had also is regular meetings, should they be defined a little bit better? In other words, the first and third Thursday of the month or something along those lines, so people can know, oh, if I'm gonna have a project, I gotta get it to that board by this time. It's
Sure.
only once a month, it's only once a month, but,
I'm an advocate of regular schedule.
right, and then it just, it's on there, it's posted, and you can almost automate the email out to town square, just a
Sure.
reminder, meetings coming up.
I'll get you the dates.
I think that's a great suggestion, Mac.
No, they are every other week at the
Professional,
moment.
so
I
thank
believe
you.
they are every other
Yeah.
week on Thursday mornings. But I'll get you the date.
Okay.
I'll shoot you.
Sure.
I mean, it's really my, just,
No, that's great. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm guessing we're gonna hold on that for now.
yes.
Okay, there was no motion made on that. So thank you, Mark. We'll hold on that for now. I'll put it back on full business for next week. New business, paired villas and Sagewood, 2022 sod replacement. We have sod replacement that is required for Sagewood in the amount of $33,087.50 and sod replacement in paired villas in the amount of $14,600.
It's a combined bid, 47,000.
47,000 and change for two. But they're
Right,
coming,
but they're
they're
separate
coming out of two
budgets.
separate budgets.
Separate
So
budgets.
my first question before we make make a motion on that is, does it qualify in our budget?
If you put it into the, on both cases, we have, mulch and tree trimming again. You have some repair in there, $13,000 for repairs in landscaping, $13,975 for Sagewood. We have $40,800 in mulch and tree trimming. So you're gonna see the repair will get pretty darn close to it on that one. And the same is true with repair bills. So the repair bills doesn't have much in tree trimming because they don't have as many trees, but the let me go back to the repair bills real quick to reset that here without bills. Theirs is effectively the repair is higher, but their mulch and tree trimming is lower. So it's in the budget and the repair for both of these with a little bit taken from the mulch and tree trimming.
Okay, anyone have any problems with this? Any questions?
Then the budget sounds good.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the $33,087.50 for Sagewood and the $14,600 for Carrick Villas sod replacement. Can I get a second?
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's no opposed, motion carries. All right, Sagewood pressure washing. We have Green Earth, who came in with their best price at $14,900. We did hire Greer to do the pool. I did think they did a fine job on the pool, but I did notice a $7,000 price difference between the two. Izzo is the highest at $30,000. I think it's safe to just rule out Izzo. So the question is $14,900 for Green Earth or $7,000 higher for Greer.
I did is 22.1,
Okay,
so the lower would obviously save them some money for other areas that we need.
okay.
I couldn't see anything that seemed to be a difference in level of service.
I couldn't either. So I guess I do have a question. Heather, do you see any reason to go with one or the other? Because I know we did use them for the pool, and I think part of it was we might get a painting quote from them for pool
You're talking about
structure.
Izzo.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know why he's so high.
okay.
It's typically,
Honestly, considering the fact that he had the pressure washing job and he had a good price on the painting, potential job on that. And then he comes up almost double from,
yeah, pretty close anyway, yeah.
so he did a great job, but I don't think it's worth that much.
No, I don't know.
Considering we know what can be done even with years.
Mhm.
So Green Earth, the only thing- I don't know a whole lot about Green Earth. I do know that he is major military. That's all I know. He's a retired Marine Corps. But I don't know his work. I haven't seen any complaints about him. But
The both quotes, I didn't notice.
he did look at the community.
Did both quotes state this, the square footage?
They went to the community and measured and looked at all the sidewalks, the homes, the driveways.
No, I understand, but does it state the square footage? Or the same numbers?
No.
Either of the quotes.
No, so Greer's looks like he's doing it by homes. It says 76 homes, exterior walls only, no screen
And
windows,
yours is
driveway,
done for the
sidewalks,
last 2
exterior
years.
truck stops.
Yeah, yours has been the last 2 years. I don't see any square footage.
Yeah, me neither. I'm just making sure I'm not missing that. That's all, guys. So,
The Green Earth
You
is
do have, on
76
Izzo,
people.
you do have a breakdown.
yeah, Izzo's got 3 cents per square. They've got the quantity in there. Their for each curve and things, it's got the square footage is why it kind of puts it apples to apples when we're trying to approve something like this. I mean, at 12 cents, 11 cents is a very common number. If that's actually the square footage that comes out to that, that's where he's quite high. It's just, it's a lot of
square footage.
Either it's mismeasured or we have a lot of square footage.
But anybody, I mean, I'm okay going with the Green Earth at 14.9.
Mhm.
It's-
Can't imagine. if
Your
you're gonna-
budget, I'm sorry, your budget numbers, the number we budgeted for this is the year's diversified quote. Their quote came into me when I was preparing your budget for this year. And when I went back out to quote, I had them verify in writing that the quote was still good for this year.
Okay, that's the 21.
That's the 22.
22.
22.
And they've done it, at least I've done the 2 years prior.
And that was Deers that did last year.
And Sagewood, yeah,
Deers did Sagewoods last year.
yeah.
Okay, so in the green,
So this is my point, we could kind of be taking it away from yours. Do we want to call it tonight? Do we want to go back to yours and see? Or do we want to make a motion that will go with Green Earth unless Gears can match?
you're talking about, an $8,000 difference here that's quite a bit of money.
They can't do it.
How much difference in service do you get from pressure washing?
Right, it's
Yeah,
more
it's
than
not-
labor.
I don't think so. I don't think much either. I'm just thinking, if we have the chance to go with the same company we've been using, is there a, yes, sir? Oh, for sure.
I'm not really quite sure if that was really justified $8,000 worth of benefit.
Definitely not. I agree.
Well, I think we should go with the
Just go
cheaper, go with the cheaper option. I mean, if they want to, but I don't foresee it.
No one thinks it's worth the time. It's just me overthinking it. I agree.
Yeah, I think we should just,
Okay, I'll make a motion that we hire Green Earth for $14,900 for the pressure washing to be done in Sagewood. Second,
Seconded.
thank you, Mac. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. We have a Sagewood irrigation controller repair. Recommended motion here is to approve an $1,857.50 repair cost for a controller in Sagewood.
Second.
yeah, I mean, if it's needed,
It is needed.
so.
I'm sorry, I'm still picking up a little bit.
Yep.
Trying to find it.
About the, not just the budget, I was concerned about what they, exactly which controller, because some of the controllers that we have been discontinued and what they're replacing it with.
Did it
So-
specify?
It's the decoders. They have 5 non-responding decoders.
Yeah, the ICC system has a decoding system, and that older ICC prototype has been discontinued.
So I put controllers, but what they're really replacing is 500 decoders.
Okay, so that's at every valve?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that part makes more sense. Okay, great.
Yes, we do. Okay. So all those in favor of getting the decoders replaced for $1,857.50?
Aye.
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 None opposed, motion carries. We have pool plant replacement. Put a motion in here to spend $2,131.50 with Sunrise to replace some plants around the pool.
I guess you making a motion?
Some 16 Firebush and
Yeah.
Blue Days, native, Penta, 40 of those. So there's a substantial amount of plants here.
And it needs it.
And it's dead stock,
The
so.
labor's $1,000 and $1,050, it's reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's within reason, so.
Okay,
John, have you been? have you
I'm
seen-
sorry, Sean and Johanna, it's hard to hear you guys. Could you repeat what you said?
There's a fair amount of plants here. We're talking about 146 plants to be replaced with 21 hours with the labor, which it's probably 2 days work with a couple guys, so that's gonna burn up 21 hours easily. So that's 21/31/50. The price seems reasonable. The labor is $50 an hour. That's $50 an hour times how many bodies they bring out, $50 per body.
right.
So it's within reason, and we have quite a few dead plants that, I mean, it is, I do think it's necessary to replace them.
I have something to say.
Yes, John?
Is it necessary to replace all these plants this year? Is it possible we could replace certain of them and it'll get coverage and then next year fill in the rest of them?
I haven't really looked at it that close. Heather, you have. Are they all dead?
In my manager's report, I have pictures of the areas that I inspected,
Mhm.
and you have not done much of any landscaping around in that area. It's just been maintained and trimmed, so you have any bushes out there that are damaged from prior frost. That middle island that goes between the two
Mhm.
pools is basically bare. You have plants in potted plants out there that are empty. I mean, you really haven't done any sprucing up in there. I've been there a year and a half, and nothing's been done there since. So, I mean, for $2,000 piecemeal in it, it really wouldn't make a huge difference if you did it that way.
John, if I can address that a little bit, I know where he's going with this, and I happen to agree with him in this case. We have some deficits in some other line items, and spending anything extra at the moment should be probably taken with a little bit of concern until we have a better feel for that. The issue is that some of those areas are optional, where there are things that we have to spend money on, like these trees that we have an option for. So it might be a quote that we table for just a little while to see if we have the funds maybe in September, which is a better planting time anyway because of the heat. So
That might be a valid point. I do think we should maintain them, but I would be willing to postpone if based on what you're saying, that is
I'm not saying not to do it, I'm saying postpone
yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing because we're going into July and it's so hot. What's
hot.
the guarantee that the plants are going to survive? I would agree with Sean to wait till September, October when it's much cooler. And we hopefully would have the cash at that time.
The other thing is that what caused them to die, I have to check the irrigation carefully. That's the first thing I'd want to check before we plant new plants always.
It is a mess. There's pots out there throwing water. But I didn't think it all looked so horribly bad that we could.
I don't think it looks horrible. It does need love. There's no question about it. I saw the pictures. So it's
Yeah,
not a priority at the moment.
Okay,
I agree.
I'll make a motion to table the pool plant replacement.
I second.
All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have pool palm tree trimming. We have a trimming cost for the palm trees of $2,551.25.
So that maxes out our tree trimming budget by about we're going to push over about $1,500. That's got to come from the mulch if we didn't spend it. Mulch tree trimming had to come from the maintenance, or not the maintenance, but the landscaping maintenance as opposed to the actual maintenance. So I don't know where it's going to come from. Just wondering.
I would like to interject here.
Mhm.
I should have seen this ahead of time. There may be 28 palms around that pool, but the majority of them, especially the ones that are on the outside of the fence line, are not yours.
In the CBD.
Those CBD.
Okay, that's
You're
interesting.
only responsible for the palms that are inside. And before Down to Earth left, I had them trim those trees within the pool area. I would table this, honestly, and I apologize for not even thinking about this.
Right.
But I don't think he knows what trees are whose trees are what.
Yeah, that's high for only the trees inside. the pool.
There's no way there's 28 within
I think
the
it's
pool
like
area.
9 or 10 inside the pool, rest of them are outside. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's thinking of CBD also.
I didn't see that, but it's good catch.
So I should have noticed this and pulled this. I would table this. That's
So
my.
we'll motion to table.
Seconded.
So we know what,
Recode it.
yeah, we got to record that.
Okay. Should I hand a motion to table?
Seconded.
I think Mark grabbed a second.
second,
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
No one opposed, motion carries. Community tree trimming. I think this is more of a discussion. As Heather notated too earlier, it was a bit of a letdown. She spent a lot of time trying to get a tree trimming quote, both for residents and for HOA properties. And after a lot of time passed, the vendor then kicked in and said, I can't do it. It took them a lot of time to come back with that. I can't do it. So I am a little perturbed at that. My question is, Matt, do you want to maybe pick that up with me? Should you choose to accept the task?
I'm willing to work on it, yeah.
We could get Brightview a call, we could get Sunrise a call, anyone else you find a call, I'll gladly
I
meet
also
with
have a
them.
tree trimmer that I've worked with in
As
the
a
past.
matter of fact, just yesterday, someone had a tree removed in our neighborhood. Actually, my next door neighbor did. And he was the guy that did all the tree trimming, that cleared the lots for ICI. I have his card and he seemed reasonable to me. So I'll give you that to
Sure.
talk to him as well.
And the reason I say you and I'll help out is because we've been talking about it a lot. And You know, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a contractor in here that's willing to give kind of a group discount. So if X amount of houses join up to get their tree trimmed, this way we're not just yelling at the community. It says this in the ARC, trim your trees, instead we say we did some legwork and here's a good discounted group quote we got.
I meant if you get something that can save you money.
Exactly.
But conversely, here's how much your dues will go up next year to cover it.
That's
Well, we can't portion that.
another way to attack.
We're spending more money to take care of things that are delineated to the owners,
Exactly.
then the dues need to go up.
Yeah. Well, I agree.
And I don't like that answer. Like, I'll trim the tree in front of my house and I trim my neighbor's tree because she can't do it.
Right. I agree with you. That's why we're looking for a discount group rate, because just
Well-
shouting at people generally doesn't do very well.
Well, I think it's a good plan, and I appreciate it. If you guys find out, but I mean, currently, we're manually doing it ourselves, so.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of people
Well,
that,
it's fine.
Well,
If you're doing
don't.
it yourself, they
It's
kind of
not-
come, my trees are like 8 feet, right? So I'm up above what needs to be done. So there's no need to trim it. So this is really only, the plan is to go and try to, okay, these trees are low. There's 7 trees. How much does it cost to get it?
we're trying to entice the neighborhood to all get in on it at the same time and save money on it.
I'm just trying to think, so mine out, I don't know, up to the high thing would be better.
Yeah, I do. Okay, awesome. Let me know what you need from me and let me know when you're coming out. I'll meet you. We'll drive you
Yeah,
around.
we just need to come up with a list of people. I'll get some calls.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Perfect.
Send me that quote tonight, it's my turn.
Awesome. Okay, lake house decking and park repair. We do have a little bit of discussion on this. I have JR here, our wonderful maintenance man who's gonna help us out with this. I did have a conversation with Mac with this about a month ago. The decking out here is kind of failing in a lot of places, probably more than one man can handle. It needs to be the actual base of the decking here needs to be jacked up and remounted. It's completely fallen off its post and is now laying on the ground. We have bad warped boards out there that just need to be addressed and touched up and maybe power washed out there, maybe even a natural stain. But we need quotes on it because it's a little overwhelming for a one-man job.
This is a reserve item.
It is a reserve item. In addition to, if you guys haven't seen the playground behind us over here, it's literally ready to collapse. So that needs quotes too. JR, do you have anything else you need to add to that? Otherwise, I have tasked JR with looking for getting us quotes on both projects.
Well, excuse me, I had a gentleman come, who was supposed to come this morning, but he canceled on me. So now I have actually got a second call back. I called about 10 different tree companies. It's been a little difficult to get them on the line, but did get 2 callbacks and I got 2 confirmations coming in on Tuesday. It was close.
Okay.
Still waiting for one more call back, and I got the second one because I just followed up today.
Sure. So
I was able to get them on.
with a little luck, next month we'll have something to review.
For sure.
That's fantastic.
You mentioned the playground's ready to collapse. Is that something we can take action on immediately before a kid gets hurt? We close it,
Well,
put some caution tape
that's the
down?
other problem is, the playground is closed. Can
There
you,
is caution tape around it. It's been like this for a long time, but it's been slowly sinking.
Yeah.
So it's slow, one of them slowly sinking into the ground. When I was cleaning up all around it, I did notice some nails sticking out of it, and I noticed that there was a whole bench area underneath that was kind of covered by all the mulch. Over time, it just sunk in and got covered. And then when I exposed it, I noticed that the support posts that were going into the ground were completely rotted around. And so I was concerned. And then that's what made me notice this bridge is not supposed to be sloped down.
right,
It's supposed to be going straight across. Over time, that one just sunk. I can't pick the whole thing up, like I could, chop off the bottom, take it all apart and put it back together, but a lot of the wood's got a lot of rot on the roof. So even if you did go and pressure wash it, that would probably bring up some, issues.
so I think
stuff
Mark's
like
more
that.
concerned about should it be completely shut down now, and I think part of the problem is even if you put your yellow tape up, kids want to play, they rip it down. It's a daily check on the yellow tape, so.
Well, that's an important part. Is there any way to repair and put some concrete or something to help support, or you think?
It's
The
not
wood's
just-
completely rotted out. on the
Yeah,
bottom,
I saw the
so
picture.
I'd have to dismantle the top part. It'd be too big for me to.
If you were to walk, you look and see, it's not just that piece. It's not just you thinking the bases, it's the bases and additional parts that are splintering out.
So one of the things that when they installed it, they should have installed it with a mounting base.
Yeah, we should have
And
right
then
there.
off the concrete and then it push bolted into that so the water doesn't get into them.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. They put them straight in the concrete, water
Okay.
flows into it.
I don't know for sure if they're even in concrete.
I don't think.
Oh,
doesn't
that's-
look as
I think
weird.
it's just
That's probably
literally
the
a
case.
base.
Correct. I
It's
don't,
wood
I
that's
think they just
supported
moved
with
it
the
from
base.
here to there and
Yeah.
didn't put any.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are in concrete, which are slightly better, but up over here.
Are we looking at, Joe, are we looking at a complete tear down here?
For,
Yeah.
I would suggest, yeah, for that, just for that one, and then remove the bridge, the other ones, I checked them all, they're secure, but that one in particular one on the far back to the right there,
Which one?
that, it needs to go.
Which one?
It's to the right, in the back one.
The back one?
Yeah, the back one to the right. You can, it's very,
You can see it,
it's got
it's
caution tape on, but you can see the bridge,
It's sagging all
where
over.
it's supposed to be level across, and now it's smoothed out.
Well, I know my kid goes, plays on it.
It's pretty rough, it's
I'm
some
trying to got caution
private.
tape on.
Well, not right now, but my kid, it's not right now, but.
It's Murder Park, right?
What if we got that orange construction fencing to put around it? Would
I
that deter people better?
Which
than
I was just
crossing?
waiting for a decision if, because I got, obviously I'm gonna bring the contractor in on Tuesday to give us a quote. So I was gonna add that in to whatever here, so, but if you wanted me to just demo it, I could do that. But I was looking, if we're looking for a way to try and fix it, maybe a professional has a better idea than I do.
I definitely,
I just don't
yeah,
feel
I
it.
definitely wouldn't demo it, but if you see any other ways to secure it, whether it's plastic orange fencing around it along with the yellow tape, go for it.
Most people, there was something plastic on it, a sign that said posted unsafe, do not use this facility. The parents will let them do it. The kids will still climb on it. There's not yet stop.
So what are we waiting on the demo with then? If it's unsafe now,
Because a couple things. Demo project's big, even on that,
Well,
okay, someone's gotta take it to the dumpster with JR, I don't,
technically, we need a quote for that.
and I need a quote to replace it, so we need someone to come out, look at it,
Yeah,
see,
no, that's a good. point.
is it fixable, or does it need a full replacement? Here's what a replacement's gonna cost, are we replacing it with an identical wood structure, or are we with a painted aluminum or something of the sort? I wouldn't demo it. Needs to sit.
There's probably components that can be saved, it's just.
Probably.
Someone who knows what they're doing, and have to pull it apart, put it back together, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, and then the only other problem with that, like I said, as I did an inspection on it, a lot of the wood on the roof, a lot of the stuff, all that plank up there, a lot of it's rough. So
And
as you take it apart, things will just crumble in your hand. So what you thought was okay, it looks, falls apart.
Of course.
so I have a Sawzall and a truck and a trailer. My quote was $0 to help Joe out take it apart.
All right.
I think Mark just wants to demo it.
You already
I
did.
don't know if it's a
Demo
great idea,
day.
I'm not walking out
Mark
there.
does
I wanna walk out there too and look at it,
I
but
got a
it's-
Sawzall too.
but it is, and we just take it.
Let's put it this way, does anyone, we'll take good pictures, does anyone have any objections with us demoing it, if we could do it in a safe?
So we're talking about replacing it entirely.
I'm gonna look at it with Mark, right now after this meeting, we'll walk right out there and look.
I mean, at bottom line, if it's rotten and it's unsafe, maybe the demo might, and bearing no cost, then I have no problem. with this.
Because here's the thing you gotta think about, even if you put that orange construction fence around it, which is a great idea, with all the rains that you're getting,
Yeah,
what's gonna say that thing doesn't topple over because it's not supported quite well? And then you still have something that keeps them off of it, but it's still gonna, it might fall over.
okay,
So we got to
Just a
demo
thought.
it.
That's
Well,
a thought.
I
Well, we
have a Sawzall
obviously don't
too.
want that
I
situation.
even have a sledgehammer. My wife only.
Yeah. I've got to change that.
look, it's not a question of can, I could just back up and.
I'm pretty sure you can probably leave it to. Okay.
Well, the question is, this is not, well, what do we wanna do with this? Do we wanna go look at it right now? Take 4 minutes out or close the meeting for
I
that?
would
Just, I think it just,
We got.
Well, parents are gonna wanna know when it's gonna get replaced and what that.
We won't know that till Tuesday.
We
but-
won't-
Well, we won't know that till at least next month at a minimum. So you're looking at at least a 2-month out, if not 3-month out on park replacement.
There will eventually be a new playground.
There will eventually be a new playground, it is a reserve expense, there will eventually be.
Well,
we're just,
how much are the reserve?
no, I'm just making a statement. The reserve is not slated to replace it this year or next year, but we can change the reserve because we've not set the budget.
Yeah.
Just that simple. So it's not really an issue at the moment. Just gotta decide what we wanna do. I'm fine with taking it down if it's gonna be a danger. I'm absolutely think it's a great idea. I think you should go for that.
It's gonna cost us money one way or the other.
We can go look at it after the meeting.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's table it for
make a
now.
decision at that point.
Well, it's not even a motion, it's really a discussion. So
Oh. Very well.
It is a discussion.
just make an
We're discussing
executive decision when we
discussion.
look at it.
Well, all I know is once you take it down, people are gonna start out immediately asking, when is it getting replaced?
They will get it, yes.
We'll make a post, we'll
We
make a
want a
post
playground,
on
we
it.
definitely want a playground, so.
So,
Live feed on the website, and come on.
Yeah, that's actually not bad.
I know I'm gonna hear. about
JR,
it,
you're gonna be
so.
under fire for these quotes, man. Like big time.
They're gonna keep, once it goes down, I know they're gonna ask, it's gonna be nonstop.
Okay, before we close this, or at least open it up for discussion, I only had one other question. Did you guys take a chance to look at that resume I got in from Tammy?
I
Sent
did.
it out last minute. So, we're not getting a whole lot of resumes. I think we've gotten 6 or 7 total, but honestly, they're all kind of disqualified. No one seems to be holding a CAM license that is applying for the job thus far. Tammy was referred to me by George, who called me, said, "I'm a great person, give her a call," so I gave her a call right away. She sounds great. It was a very short discussion. Mac, I didn't get to go over, I was in the car when I called her, but I'm gonna take your questionnaire if I move forward to meet with her. She seemed great. She comes with a lot of financial background. She ended up getting her CAM license because she was getting into the CAM role along with the finances of all the different communities she worked for. She's trying to get customer facing, resident facing, I should say, and kind of out of the stuck at the desk doing accounting stuff practice,
Great.
which is kind of what we're
What we
looking for.
want, yeah.
So anyways, point being, she is working a full-time job. She's willing to meet me. She wants to physically look at the property before she commits to anything and meeting the entire board. So she's looking to meet with me Thursday morning, I believe she said. Does anyone have any objections with that?
No, I think.
Absolutely not.
Her.
Yeah, I was gonna meet with her, drive her around, show her the place.
And you sent your resume out via email?
I did.
I
Yeah,
just
it's
missed it.
right
I was
before- right before the
working
meeting.
on stuff.
It's a very good resume.
Yeah, I did look it over, it looked, yeah, I don't see anything.
My first instinct was that the financial background was another key.
That's what I thought too. But honestly, I talked to her and I was kind of shocked on it. Like her very first thing was, you know, am I gonna get to meet residents? Can I be out in the community? I don't want to be desperate. I'm like,
Oh, you're gonna get to meet him.
They'll come to you. So,
I just want to make sure no one had any objections to that. I will call her back and schedule that out.
I'd like to circle back to old business because we did kind of circumvent the treasurer's report, and I wanted to cover some of the issues that we're facing and scheduling for our transition that we're making.
okay, go ahead.
And I apologize for not jumping in there earlier. We are currently in the process of importing all the account data. Finally cleaned it all up. I think you saw the emails that did validate that we only have 1,238 homes in the neighborhood. And those have been validated and kind of massaged to a nice clean order to give them to import. A couple of different things came about with having the retaining group, with the retainer walls, having a different price from the master, making them as a separate account kind of thing to make that work. So I'll figure that technical part out, showing it, so we were. They've told me they will have the accounts active and live no later than Wednesday morning. What I'd like to discuss is what our timeframe is to announce when we start making the transition to payment and when we want to start announcing it to the masses. At that point, they can log in and register their account. Now, this is what's going to happen for people who have multiple units or multiple dues, i.e. a service area. So they will have 2 separate account numbers, but they'll be attached to one email address and they will pay them accordingly. So we can track them individually. So that's not very confusing because they're just gonna hit pay and it's gonna apply to where it goes to. So not for us to sort of track it that way. Is there any advantage that they're giving them 15 days to register? And then what's our policy gonna be? These are all hypothetical questions, more open discussion. Leniency for the transition, what that period is, what we're going to announce that leniency be. Those kind of things that come up. Would love to encourage the ACH transactions are the best way to go for everybody. They're free for everybody. They go in directly to the bank account. We don't have to think about them. It cuts down collection costs tremendously. So there should be a maybe some way to incentivize that. I don't know what it is. I'm just trying to think of what we can discuss as a group that could come out to make this thing go as smoothly as possible.
I have an opinion on timeline. My opinion is, once you, myself, and John look at it and go through it all with a fine tooth comb and like the way it looks, they offer free training done after that. So what I would say is, after the three of us are happy with it, let's try to schedule an immediately training session with the board or a special board meeting. And that's where we go over all these discussions, right? Because the board will get to actually see AppFolio up front in the face, right? Ask the problem, whatever questions they have right then and there, while we're all in the same room together, and talk about a go live thing. Which I believe we're still looking at getting this thing up and running, the end of July. This is August. Is
If
the hope.
possible. I mean, there's a couple of different caveats that we're facing that we can discuss, like, getting the town square data and so forth. But other than that, we're in fairly decent shape with it. It's just, wanted to find out what my schedule is going to be to work around it, because it's quite a bit of data for me to deal with. So we should be able to take a look at it Wednesday.
Let's just go from
And
there.
all of you have sent an invitation at some point, if you haven't already logged in, so please do so.
To,
AppFolio, and actually I can log in and see who's accepted and not.
I think, I know that Mark did right away, and so did John and yourself and myself, and I think Mark did here, and Kathy. Maybe it's just Will and you, I think it's not.
well, I guess I'll look at it and see. if the-
Again, it's okay. We get,
We can resend it, it's not my house.
Yeah, maybe it's resend it.
Yeah, it's not a problem. I'll try to take care of that while I'm in it tonight.
I think we got to get to that point, Sean. If we're there in the next 2 weeks, and then we can schedule up a special board meeting and say, this is what we want to post. They have sample letters in there too.
Yeah, they do. They send them to us already.
So we can draft them up and offer them up to the board and say, hey, what's our time frame look like? Here's what we want to send out.
Well, just for the record, then, we did get the bank account set up very quickly after we decided to make this change. Credit card was applied for as requested by the board. We have a debit card that we're using for monthly transactions at this point. So many of those things are in play. I signed up for the QuickBooks that we decided to do. I should have active login for that shortly. I filled out a lot of paperwork and gave information to the bookkeeper. They're ramping up as we go, waiting, champing at the bit to get the rest of it in their area. So all of it's moving forward pretty well.
Not resend it.
Sean, what's about a debit card?
Got a debit card. They always issue a debit card. It was issued to me, and we're using it for monthly recurring expenses that require a credit card to pay them, like our
Microsoft,
Zoom, the
ADT.
QuickBooks, that stuff.
Okay,
So it'll be just regular transactions that are automated, so we don't have to worry about paying them because of the same amount every month.
And
All right,
credit
thank
card is in
you.
process.
I was gonna say, I thought we talked about a credit card versus a debit card, so that's why I
Card is
wanted
for-
clarification.
Kathy, the credit cards for non-regular expenses for the staff, basically. So if they have to go out, JR says, oh my God, the tree blew down the wall, I gotta get some plastic. He has to go out and buy plastic, that's what the credit card is for. So the
Exactly.
monthly expenses for normal known things that we pay for, straight to the debit card, we don't have to worry about paying that bill, it's going straight out of the account that way.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Okay, that's all I have there. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sean. Okay, I'll open discussion. Does anyone have anything you've missed, might have added? Anyone from Zoom?
Nothing on Zoom yet. Okay.
We'll give them a minute to type
We'll
in.
give them a minute.
Can you say something?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. We are Sagewood residents, and I just learned 3 days ago that the associate is leaving. Because I've been in Sagewood since it first started, it was hellacious.
Mhm.
And we had a management company there, Rosetta, or whoever it was, and we fought tooth and nail for years, and we finally got associated here, and things started to happen that never happened before. So my point is, I'm really concerned about self-management, what your game plan is to succeed.
Sure. I mean, short answer to that question is we have an internalizing act that we've turned to that takes over all internal functions, whether it be ARC or violation release,
Okay.
right? It takes over full management controls and accounting. We have a fully dedicated finance committee that deals with our budgeting and our finances, as you can see here. These are things we didn't have in the past. As far as management, in my opinion, what you really refer to when you say things like socio, or at least what I refer to as things like socio or Rosetta, whomever, is staff. It's really staff. I know this is Heather's last day, but when you say associate, you mean Heather.
Yeah.
The company's done almost nothing for us. I say that publicly.
In the play as we can. It really is that they've not done what we expected them to do. So the staff will still be in play. We'll still have staff members doing the same tasks, as well as the fact that we'll have a bookkeeper doing the bookkeeping end of it outside of the office that gives the property manager the time to deal with the members' requests and the problems that we have with that. In addition, we have a really active board, which is unusual for, I'm saying that as the best compliment as I can to you guys. I've been on boards my entire life, and this group is a lot better than most of them.
No, I agree with that, but unfortunately, you guys aren't getting paid either, so there comes a point in time where the residents can be annoying, and then you're gonna throw up your hands.
I'm sorry, when was that point?
But the answer is that we will continue having staff.
Yeah, so I don't really know what to call it because it really is a hybrid management, because we keep using the word self-managed, and it's really not. A self-managed board is where the board takes on the individual roles. Now, considering that we have staff with substantial salary staff, it's hybrid. We have management that actually does take care of it. We just don't have a management company that's.
The heavy lifting is being done by paid vendors. We're managing those vendors. That's why we're calling it self-managed. Whereas before, most of the work was done by associates. They were managing themselves. We found that not to be as effective and less information that we needed to get things done. So some of us had ample experience. I know Mac and John, who's online here, and Kathy have had years and years of experience doing this kind of work.
Just different, okay.
So I was a treasurer for an association for 17 years in California, and the rules there are quite a bit more stringent. So I'm really familiar with the process. I just got CAM certified, so I'm also a CAM. So at this point, I know most of the things that I need to, but I reach out to those who don't to find out. We have a group that's been doing that pretty successfully. Everyone here is really, really digging in.
So then this person that you're looking for has to be, it's gonna be the person, point of contact that will kind of.
One of the point of contact. So the way it's going to be designed is the person that we're looking for is going to be the licensed CAM on site,
Okay.
managing the property primarily. May have other aspects that we could bleed over into, but primarily just managing the property and violations. We also have Jennifer here, who's going to be kind of front of house, if you will, front-facing residents, in charge of some of the marketing campaigns going on for whether it's events or whatnot. So there will be a lot of cross bleed between the two, but you know,
And should work in spite of my recommendation, JR is staying on. I'm just kidding. No, JR has been great with us as well, and we're excited for him to be here as well as Jennifer. Actually, Heather's the one who made the decision to leave. It was something we'd actually hoped maybe she would stay. But if she wants to stay with associate, we understand.
I understand.
All right, so how long do you think this transition will take for?
2 months.
2 months.
Okay,
And so September 1st, Associa is out for good. So we're trying to get up and running, at least a good month, 2 months prior if possible.
are you gonna be running parallel with them until September 1st?
Correct.
To some degree,
The
yes.
last month,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, there's gonna be a cutover, but as of September 1st.
Okay, well, we'll be watching.
That was kind of the conversation we were
That's what you
having.
should
Was when do we tell the neighborhood to sign up for their new accounts and log in? Their information's still coming. We're figuring it out, but it's going to be 2 months.
All right.
Okay, next.
What act will these posting?
We're gonna be using AppFolio.
Okay.
So if you were to Google appfolio.com, you can do a little legwork. It's a very nice app. It's gonna be replacing Town Square.
Oh,
One of the questions online is, are we saving money moving away from associate?
So-
If so, will we see a reduction in our HOA fees monthly or quarterly?
Sure. So answer that question is twofold. First, I'll give you the bad news. There will not be a reduction. Any money that is being saved, we need to fund our reserves this year, so the raise is going to be less.
But it's a good investment for our reserves in
But,
that sense.
yes.
Let me
Now,
address that. Can I address that in a different way?
sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're seeing 9% inflation rates right now. We're seeing increases across the board. Even PVC pipe has gone up more than 600%. There's no way that we can lower dues. Our goal is to try to keep it as low as possible. And I promise you this move will help, but we do have to fund the reserve, which is something we discussed last budget, if you remember, for everyone listening, to make sure that we had money to do that. And so this will offset it, but I don't think we'll offset it completely. So the goal is to raise it as little as humanly possible.
Now, to answer your first part of the question, one of the major gains in going to this hybrid management solution is we will have the ability to get you answers fast, have the answers that we need at the tips of our at our fingertips. We'll actually be in control of things that we're kind of not now. I can't tell you how many times I work with Heather on something and she has to reach out to Texas and we don't get a response back till a week later. Not her fault, not our fault. It's just the management style. When we go to a third-party management company, we're going to desks that are out of state to ask questions about things that they don't know about and they've never even seen the property. It makes things very difficult. We will be gaining a ton of internal control for the resident.
If there's any unforeseen circumstances, relevant consultation.
Heather has made herself personally available to me via her cell phone. So.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, my question is,
Could you come forward, ma'am, so people can hear your question?
okay, so the new CAM person will report to the board.
Yes.
Okay, so now is this not gonna be a lot more responsibility for all of you guys? You're gonna have to work a lot more hours?
The camera reports to us now.
It will be,
Yeah.
it's pretty much a similar
Yeah.
setup
Yeah,
as
I mean,
before,
so you're
except
gonna have
for
to
faster response times.
It's the same though. Heather reports directly to us now.
Right,
Right. The only difference is we're paying
Associate.
Associate for her to report to us directly.
it just seems like y'all are gonna have way more work
It's the same work.
for volunteer job.
It's actually the same exact work because we're not taking it away from management. We're just removing,
The layers.
we're removing the top tier landlord and buying the property ourselves. Management company still.
Because Heather really reports to associate.
No.
No.
Oh, she doesn't, okay.
I mean, it's a weird situation if you think about it. If you want to think about alliances a little bit. So you have Heather and Jennifer and JR who work for Associa, but are paid directly through us.
Right,
So, yeah, so it's a good question. Who do they report
right.
You know,
Checking that out.
no question this one.
That's right. Okay.
They said, please don't raise our fees.
to?
Try not to, guys. We really do.
But if you want, I mean, you want to answer that, I mean, reiterate the fact that the reserves are underfunded.
Yeah,
So
for anyone
they need
new,
to be
I don't know how many
funded.
people are on Zoom, for anyone new on the call, if you haven't been heavily involved in the past year or so, our reserves are completely underfunded, if not depleted. So just keep in mind, if anything breaks, we technically don't have the money to fix it. And at current rate, we'll not have the money to fix it until we fund our reserves. The board elected to do a reserve study this year. We have that study back and we have a whole bunch of different funding options to go forth and go through to our next budget cycle. So just be aware, it does need to happen and you'll learn more about it and see more about it when we get to budget season.
Choose next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
Yes, ma'am.
ahead.
This is very informative, because when we go on the website,
Mhm.
we self-management, an overview would have been great coming out.
Mhm.
And even before you start going live, give us an overview of just what you said in this meeting would be excellent.
100%.
I mean,
I haven't really posted anything on it yet. What website? I presume you mean Facebook.
yeah, on Facebook, yeah, Tom, with what you were saying, I think, what's this man talking about?
I've been very big with it because I want to do a full posting, but the problem is when I do a full posting, I'm going to get bombarded with more questions. I want to be able to answer that. Like right now, I can't answer basic dates.
Then we shouldn't have had any of it until you could.
You're not going to be able to until we get through
So
it.
it comes out as soon as you make the decision.
Right.
What's that again?
I said the meeting is open to the public all the time, so as soon as you make a decision, people start posting.
So the point is, we can't even, we're bound, we can't talk about it and put our eggs in a basket and then present it without it being public. It's already presented. So what you're seeing is, you're actually seeing the business meeting where they talk about it, figure it out. And what I'm saying is, there will be a public announcement on this. The whole board, me and Margaret, Sean and I have talked about it. There will be a public announcement. We just want to make sure it's a good, solid.
A good overview.
Yes.
And as far as the plan,
Because when I hear tonight, it sounds, I love you. This was the best group we had. Socio or Heather, however you want to put
Let's
it.
have it.
But that's the best we've had. But this overview, it sounds.
Mhm.
So I think everybody else will probably receive it that way.
sure, and also level of involvement, this conversation overview has been done a lot. I encourage everyone, come to our town hall meetings when we have them. They've been talked
Okay.
about a lot.
Sagewood, we used to come to all of them, but we just got tired of being lied to, so we stopped. So,
I understand that.
all right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In regards to the budget reserves, what is the target budget if you have it?
Target budget for what?
The problem is the reserves are 5 different bank accounts for 5 different locations. So when you're asking the target
Complicated
budget,
question.
I'll give you an idea though. The way the reserves are done is that you hire a third party to come in and analyze all the assets. They look at their useful life and what the replacement cost would be if something went wrong with them or they had to replace, like the playground, for example. They come back and say, I think it's got 2 years left. In 2 years, you're gonna have to pay this much money to have it, so you need to have that in the reserve. So they come up with a number based on those particular calculations.
Okay.
Now, that calculation up until this point for the Master Association, which is different than Sagewood, Sagewood has its own reserve,
Okay.
was grossly underfunded. I'm talking about probably less than 10% of what it should have been. Actually, it was 5%.
Okay.
So when they came back and said, here's the numbers, we have to go back and say, now, how do we make this work in the budget? When we do the budget meetings, you're welcome to come to those and we'll get some better overview. Right now, it's each area has a reserve. Some of them are pretty close. Sagewood is actually pretty close to what it should be.
Okay.
The Master is not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But we have money for foam parties and food truck rallies.
It's a separate budget.
again, for folks that think you're gonna steal from Peter to pay Paul, that's not how these works. These line item budgets are budgeted for specific things. Going with that statement, we could just cement in the pool and say we can't afford to own one. But we don't, it still operates and we still pump it full of chlorine. So it's not a good justification to do that. It's good to have these parties. It's good to have social events, activities, and that budget comes out of lake house rentals. So people that are actually renting a lake house and paying the $150 fee to do so, we're then returning and giving back to the community.
Let me clarify that a little bit better. Last year, we made $11,000 on rentals that went directly into the budget for social events. It did not come out of your dues.
So that doesn't really change anything as far as like, it's not even gonna offset it. So
Sure, but again, some people will say, take that 11,000, put it toward the reserves. This way we
You
don't.
can't.
I understand.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Folks, I understand that. I'm saying the general public does not. And that's what some of those
But
comments
there is
are.
something that's neat about it. If you rent the lake house more frequently, there's more money to spend for social parties. So please do so.
that would be, you're very encouraged to use the lake as much as possible.
We want concerts, we want a carnival, maybe, we want to do all types of stuff.
Talk about something else.
So, I mean, this is all just beneficial and as I said,
I didn't know that. Thank you for the clarification.
Really.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking the question.
Yeah, thank you for asking the question. Thank you for being here. That is,
We appreciate that.
all right, anyone else?
Good questions, folks.
Yeah, no.
All right, thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.
Tell me if you're not moving.
I got a truckload of stuff that belongs to the association.